right, everyone. Like I said, I'm joined today by Greg Loukinen. He's a left-handed pitcher, former player of mine at Gulf Coast State College. Greg's got a pretty cool and interesting recruiting story of how he ended up with us at Gulf Coast, then where he went from there, and then kind of trying to get back into the game. So we're going to talk about that today. What's up, man? How's it going?
I'm good. I'm good, Coach. How are you?
Good. You holding it down over there in the oven mitt?
Yes, sir. I'm enjoying the weather.
All right. You're from basically like right outside of Detroit, right?
Yeah, I'm from Berkeley, Michigan.
Berkeley. Okay. So he's a Michigan guy. But Greg has one of the really cool, kind of everything had to kind of line up and happen just by chance, how we got him at Gulf Coast. We had a kid there was a catcher from Jacksonville that really wanted to come to Gulf Coast, and he kind of recruited us more than we recruited him. And I went to watch. We had signed a kid from his school and another kid from Jacksonville that were playing. I went to watch them, check out their senior years of high school, and check out the catcher. We ended up offering him a walk-on spot, and he committed. And then in like June, I got a text from Drew. He said, hey, he had some weird story about how his family used to go vacation in Michigan in the summer, and he played like some pickup games, and they had this kid that was a good pitcher. And he goes, he's pitching in the state championship game today at like, I don't know what he said, 4 o'clock or 1 o'clock or whatever it was. And he's like, you can watch it online. He's like, here's the link. He sent me the link. So I'm like, all right, I guess I'll check it out and, see what I told our head coach about it. He's like, I don't know, look at it if you want. If not, who cares? And so I go to watch it, and it's like $6 to pay for it. And I'm like, oh, God damn, this kid better not suck if I got sitting here paying $6 to watch it. So I watched you pitch. You pitched really good. You guys won. You said it was 7-1,
Yeah.
state champs. You threw the whole game, right? If I remember right.
Yeah, I did.
All right. So I remember going and talking because we only had a couple spots left. We had a pretty big recruiting class that year. We were holding some spots open for transfers, which we ended up getting. But we were looking for a guy to fill out our roster as a walk-on. So obviously out of state, being a walk-on can be kind of tough sometimes. So I reached out, kind of gauged some interest pretty soon after that state championship game. And then you and your mom ended up flying down about a month later. We're talking mid-July. He's already graduated, doesn't know where he's going yet. Flew down through a bullpen, and then Candler offers you the spot on the team, and you fly home and call us up and say you take it. What was that like, kind of that not knowing where you were going, kind of end of the senior year, and then all of a sudden, like, boom, this stuff just happens real quick, and you're moving halfway across the country?
It happens so quick. Like I still think about it and stuff, and I bring it up a lot in like when I talk baseball with kids or like whoever, I'm talking baseball with. It's like wild to me because like it happens so fast that like I really never had time to process what really went down because, I had a chance to go to Wayne State. And some things happened late in the season and stuff, and it didn't end up working out. So it went from I was going to a school 20 minutes down the road for me to essentially for a while not knowing where I was going. And then the timeline of how quick and how condensed everything happened. I got a text from Drew. I remember I got a text from him one night. I think it was a night or two before our championship game. And he just texted me and he said, hey, how does playing in Panama City sound? I said, sounds pretty cool, man. Like, all right, well, so like, is there a way to watch your state championship game? And I told him, yeah. He was like, all right, I'm going to text the guy who recruited me, the assistant coach at Gulf Coast, you. And he was like, I'm going to go ahead and send him a link and stuff. And I was like, cool, man. And then, yeah, I remember you called me after the game and stuff. We talked a little bit. And then I remember the second I pressed the end button on my phone, I went right to my mom and said, Mom, we got to get some tickets down to Panama City as soon as possible. And then, yeah, so that happened. We got the tickets, came down a month later. And I mean, I pretty much knew at that point, it was, I gave it some time or whatever. but I pretty much knew at that point, like that was my landing spot. And it happened quickly, and it was cool to have my mentality change so much of I'm going to stay home for college or whatever that may be for how long, to I'm 18 and I'm moving over 1,000 miles away.
Right.
So it was pretty cool to it's pretty cool to look back on now, and it's pretty crazy too to see how quickly everything happened.
Right, because like you got kids nowadays like committing in eighth grade, like it's like 6 years before they get on campus. You literally, from the time I knew your name to you started school was only like 2 months. It's just, and it's like not like, oh, it happened and you, like you said, you're going 20 minutes on the road. It's like that happened and it's 1,500 miles away or whatever it is. It's like it's just insane.
But I mean, it's like something cool about that too that I've kind of like thought about process is like it was like super special because like one feeling that I kind of really had that made me so excited was like, I was like an underdog in high school. So, I was looked at and stuff, but, everything kind of died off. And then, you guys are the ones to kind of take a chance on me. And I was like, this is awesome. Like, I know what I have. I know what I can do. And like, these guys are willing to let me fly all the way down there and take a chance on their team. So,
Right. So you get to school, and we got kids that are throwing. I mean, what the fuck was Nick throwing that year? 96, right? And here we got you with 2 months left, and you're a lefty that's 82, 85, and just from busting your ass and getting better, like we had a 12-man set. You end up now you weren't our closer. Dev was our closer, but you end up. I think with the most appearances out of the bullpen, like you were our go-to guy anytime shit got hairy at all. It was like, all right, get Greg up. Like we need him. We could count on you because you're going to come in, you're going to throw strikes, you're going to get guys out. So kind of what was that like, kind of going from not recruited to like one of our main guys out of the bullpen? Like, do you think it was just like sometimes I think stuff happens so fast you don't have time to realize like, oh shit, like I'm like the leverage guy. Like when shit gets like really tough, like I'm the guy that's coming in. Like, did you ever think about that, or like I said, it just happened so fast? It was like I'm just gonna go get guys out like I always have.
I think, yeah, it definitely happened so fast. And like, I came off of pretty much, winning the state championship or whatever. So, I was on my high horse, whatever you want to call it. And I think I just kept riding that. I've always really enjoyed kind of being the underdog.
Yeah.
Um, because I was going to the state championship game. I'm like, here I am. I'm with my team. My guys and I are carrying all of us deep into the season. I'm pitching great every game I throw. And it's like, it just sucks. It was frustrating because no one's looking at me.
Yeah.
It was below. But it was still frustrating just being in high school, being younger and stuff. And yeah, like coming into, kind of going just completely unnoticed and then having you guys, it was kind of like, like I was saying, like I knew this was my landing spot. I was like, all right, like these guys are giving me my chance. Like this is where I'm at. And I remember actually going into the fall, here I am, a little lefty from Michigan, and I'm coming down, and you got Bo McGuffin over here, a full-grown man, like hitting dingers over the fence. You got Nick Nelson throwing 97, and I was like, this is scary, but this is where I want to be.
Yeah, and then
And
you think it's just our team that's good, and then we go play like Northwest Florida, and we go play Chipola, and Reynaldo Rivera's hitting balls over the fucking like mountains and shit. Like it's just like it's crazy how good the talent is down there.
it was pretty overwhelming, but it was like, like I'll never forget it. I'll never forget that feeling overall my freshman year of just being introduced to that world of baseball and that
Right.
world of talent and stuff. And like, like you were saying, transitioning into college and still, everything happening so fast and me doing as well as I did. After the fall and stuff, I was pretty discouraged just because, my velo was down. I didn't do that well in fall ball. And it was hard. And there was times where I was like, maybe this isn't it for me. Maybe this is the end of the line. Maybe I just need to go to school. And I remember it hit me one day. I can't think like that. Like I was like, I know what I can do. I was like, there's no reason to get soft. I was like, let's go out and like put it all out on the field pretty much. And I just remember the first game that I came in. It was a night game. I think it was the seventh or eighth inning. We were down a little. I think we were down a few runs or so.
Oh,
Uh,
we went into extra innings, right?
yeah, we ended up going to extra innings. And I remember because I was, I knew I kind of realized my role is like, all right, like if we're down in the game and Candy just needs some outs or whatever, he's probably going to call on me. So, I was ready. And I remember because I had a ball in my hand and I had my glove on my hand. And I was like, just call my name, just call my name, just call my name. And he called my name. And before he even finished saying my name, like I was in the bullpen getting stretched up. So,
Yeah.
and it was fun too because I came out in that game and I was like this is it, like this is what I've been waiting for so long. And like I kind of just said screw it, threw as hard as I could, came out like 82 83. And I remember because I struck out the side and I remember walking back and nobody was really celebrating or everything. Everybody was just kind of confused because they were just like what just
Yeah. Dude, that self-doubt shit is so real, especially like we both experienced it like from up north. Like I played high school baseball and it still was baseball when I got to Florida, but that was not the same shit. Like that
happened?
was not the same. Like the stuff those guys, the level of competition like that, and then like you start like, man, is this right for me? Like, am I in over my head? Am I?
No.
And good on your part. You fought through it and battled your ass off, and you got your chance and you did well. And like Candler's always big on you do well, I'll put your ass back out there. You do well, even if you don't do well, I'm going to put you out there. But you just kept succeeding, in your bullpen role, and you ended up being like our guy. So from there, obviously, you have a really good freshman season, and then you going into your sophomore year. What was the difference like? Kind of instead of having to try to prove yourself, like you're an underdog. Now you got kind of like try. Everybody knows you're a good pitcher. Does the mindset kind of change, or you try to just keep it the same? Like I'm just trying to get outs out of here.
It definitely changes, and I think that's kind of inevitable, but I think it's how you handle I think it's how you handle that change of mentality and stuff. I know for like a little bit, I definitely let it get the best of me. I was kind of like, all right, like I'm kind of the guy in the pen now. Like I need to do well. Like like I had, like I just expected too much of myself
Right.
as opposed to saying like, all right, like I'm the same guy. Like let's just go out there and throw strikes and get outs.
Yeah.
But I ended up like kind of sitting back for a little bit and taking everything as a whole and kind of saying like, dude, look, like you don't have to be better than you are right now. Like just keep doing what you're doing and like the success and like the advancement in your talent will come naturally.
Right.
Um, but yeah, no, I mean, as far as mentality wise, from a positive standpoint, it was just coming in kind of, like, all right, like I've been through the grind, I've been
You
through
know
the
what to
mud,
expect.
and so it's like now I kind of got to lead these younger guys, helping them transition into the JUCO world, and Southern baseball kind of, and just kind of being there, doing my part on the team, and then like I said, just trying to be a good teammate to the rest of the guys and stuff.
That's what's crazy about JUCO is like in a 4-year school, you come in like freshman, sophomore, like you're still a younger kid, and like your sophomore year, you know what you're doing, but you're not expected to be a leader yet. And like your junior, senior, you're supposed to be a leader. Like JUCO, you just like 1 year, like you're the little guy that knows nothing, and you have to learn everything. And the next year, you're expected to like be a leader for everybody. It's crazy.
You grow up so quickly in JUCO. Like so you got 2 years to essentially to nut up pretty much, I
Right.
guess.
So I wasn't there for your sophomore year. Kind of talk about you ended up committing to Wayne State, which is back in Michigan. Kind of talk about that recruiting process, kind of some schools you were talking to, and kind of how that went.
Sophomore year was very interesting for me. Like I said, like freshman year, my velo was pretty low. I was anywhere from like 81 to 85 tops, whatever have you. And I remember going into sophomore year, I was kind of trying to prioritize velo a little bit, and it bumped up a little bit. It was like, it's still inconsistent. I was like anywhere from like 84 to topping 88. So I remember the fall, like, leading up to the showcases, the Lakeland showcase,
Yeah.
I had a few like D1s here and there contact me. I think like Ball State did, Middle Tennessee, and just like a few other, I think like mid-major D1s.
Hmm.
And so they came and watched me down in the Lakeland, and I really didn't do that well. I was pretty nervous, to be honest with you.
Right.
So that kind of died out, and I reached out to my high school coach, Coach Petrie, and I asked him to get in touch with Wayne State to see if they would still be interested in me. So I ended up getting in contact with them. We did everything we needed to do. You know, I had sent all my transcripts in, blah blah blah, so on and so forth, and then I ended up signing the NLI. And, you know, I was happy with my decision and whatnot. And the former player Nick Andrews had been at GGC, and so he had
Georgia,
begun to
that's
just
Georgia Gwinnett College. It's an
go.
NAIA school outside of Atlanta. It's a really good baseball program. So, sorry, go back to
Hey, good shout out right there. I
yeah.
appreciate the shout out. So yeah, he was over at Georgia Gwinnett, and you know, he started hitting me up about it. He was like, "Hey man, like, do you want to check this school out?" And I was like, "I'm good. I'm committed to Wayne." And he just kept bugging me about it. And so I finally said, "All right, man, like, I'll give it a quick look." So I did some research, like, on the websites, looked up the records of facilities. He sent me some pictures, and I was really blown away.
Yeah, their facilities are legit for NAIA school. Like it's
I was
legit.
Yeah, I was like, I texted him. I was like, all right, dude, you've like actually got my interest. This is wild. So he ended up telling his coach about me, Coach Steve Less, their pitching coach over there. Um, so he ended up coming down to watch Jordan Ken and I, and then that's when he took us out to dinner. Um, you know, he broke everything down for us. He had this whole pitching binder, broke down, you know, the whole Grizzly program, the whole Grizzly baseball side of everything, their
Right.
academics. And you know, by the time he was done, I mean, all of our jaws were on the floor. I mean, we were Grizzlies after he was done. Let me tell you. I mean,
Right.
it was pretty cool. So it was hard, um,
Yeah, kind of
but
talk about what that's like, because I've had kids before, like something happens in coaching. Like I did my recruiting video, like I talked about mine, like I changed my commitment, and it was hard, but like in the end, I had to like say like, what's the best thing for me? Like I get it, like I made a commitment, but like shit changes, like
oh
and
yeah,
so, like what was best for me as a junior when you guys were all trying to get me to commit isn't the best thing that's for me 8 months later, 10 months later. You know what I mean? So like,
yeah.
we kind of talk about like what went into that.
So yeah, so we're talking to Wayne State. Great school, great program, great academics. Coach Ryan Kelly over there, he was a great dude. Um, you know, they've had a lot of success too. But you know, I really found a home when I was playing in Florida. Like I really felt like I belonged in the South. I liked that
Baseball
style
ain't meant to be played up north, dude.
of
It ain't.
play.
Like, when it's fucking 38 degrees and it's like
Yep,
slushy
so true.
snow, that shit ain't. It's not baseball weather.
No. But you know, it's just I really appreciated who it turned me into as a ball player, and it felt like I belonged down there. And you know, there were some things with Wayne that I was kind of on edge about that, you know, maybe a little bit of a red flag that I kind of ignored. Um, and you know, when I had been introduced to Georgia Gwinnett, you know, every void that I may have felt with Wayne State, Georgia Gwinnett just felt like it filled for me.
Right.
It felt like the complete program, and it felt like somewhere that like I could really excel at. And like the way that Coach Les had broken everything down and kind of explained everything to us, and his manner of how he went about things and stuff, like it was just really welcoming to like all three of us. And it was hard, you know. I remember the day that I had to decommit from Wayne State. I remember I was holding my phone for a solid 30 minutes, and I was in my car sweating, and I was my finger was over the call button for a solid hour before I actually pressed it.
Right.
And it was really difficult, but I broke it down for Coach Kelly, and I just, you know, I was very upfront and honest with him, and I told him I really appreciated everything that he had done for me to get me in the school, to give me the opportunity to play there and everything. And that's kind of just how it ended and stuff. So, and that's when the process of committing to GGC started.
Right. Okay. So you go to Gwinnett. Now, did you start out as a reliever, and then because I know you're a senior, you're mostly started, right?
Yeah. So I started out as a reliever coming in.
And then how long into your junior year did you transition to starting?
I want to say want to say about 5 games in, I think. I had a game against Indiana Tech. I think I went like 5 scoreless or something. It was kind of like our starter just kind of went out a little too early.
Right.
And I ended up doing pretty well, and they just like asked me if I wanted to start the next game that I threw, and I said sure. And like that's
Now,
kind
did
of
you
how it
is
started.
that is starting something you prefer to relieving, just because you get that routine of like, all right, I'm pitching on Saturday every week, and I can like,
Oh, definitely, definitely.
okay, yeah,
Yeah, I mean, just like transitioning from a reliever early in my high school career to starting in high school for 3 years. Um, I was just kind of used to that. Uh, but I did enjoy the pen at Gulf Coast, and the one thing that I really enjoy about being in the bullpen is this condensed amount of pitches you have to pretty much prove yourself. So it's pretty much I was going out there and saying like,
it's
all
like
right,
always high leverage when you come in.
yeah, I may only have 5 pitches to show how good I am, and I may only have to get 1 or 2 outs, but I'm going to get the best 1 or 2 outs that I can get because this is the situation that we're in.
Okay, so in what year was it? Your junior year, you guys went to World Series, or your senior year?
Both years.
Oh, you went both years. Okay,
Yes.
how'd you like pitching out there?
That was really fun. That was really fun. It was gorgeous. It was gorgeous. The mound is notorious over there. It's like a little ski hill, so it was
Yeah,
pretty fun.
and the ball likes to fly there, doesn't it?
The I think it's bipolar. There were
Yeah.
some days during when we would have a little off day. If we had an
One of
off
the
day, we were taking
one
some
of the
PP.
one of the games you guys had like a crazy score, like a football score or something, right? Didn't you guys have like a really crazy?
Yes, yes, we played Faulkner, our rivals, and I think we beat them like 21-6 or something. It was ridiculous.
Yeah.
And yeah, and they didn't want to play us the following year because I think we I think we suicide squeezed with like when we were up like 10. So it was pretty bad.
All right. So you're at Gwinnett. Now I looked this up because I knew it just from memory, but I wanted to look at the actual numbers. In 4 years of college pitching, you never had an ERA over 3.13. That was your highest ERA out of all 4 years. So here you are. You're a guy. We talked about success in high school. You pitched, state champ. You're part of a state championship team. You're kind of the ace pitcher. You come down to junior college in Florida, Division I junior college. It's some of the best baseball in the freaking country, regardless of Division I, whatever. Well, I'll put our guys up against anybody. You have success there. You go to one of the best NAIA schools in the country, and you guys go to the World Series 2 years, both years, and you have success there. So draft time comes along. Now, were you hearing anything going into the draft? Were you hearing from teams, or were you kind of just hoping, someone saw you and was going to take a chance on you?
I was a low interest guy. I had a few teams show some interest in me my junior year for our fall pro showcase. And then they kind of followed me throughout the season, and then they had followed back up the following fall of my senior year too, and kind of followed me a little bit. I believe it was Texas, Atlanta, and I believe it was the Cubs as well. I think those are the 3 teams that were kind of following me.
Right. Okay. So you go through the same thing your senior year I went through. I had a scout from the New York Yankees say this draft will not end without you being selected. At the very least, we will select you. And then I sit there and watch the whole thing go by and watch my fucking career end. I don't get picked. Kind of talk about what that's like. And we said, and I talked to you before, before we started recording, like, you see guys that you got out, you're better than, and they're getting picked in like the second round, like, like stuff like that. Like, how hard is that to sit there and watch?
It's weird. It's just
Right, because to me,
it's
like,
so weird.
the game should have to prove that you're not any good. Like, you should get a shot. Okay, give me 5 outings. If I get a fucking 15 ERA, all right, you can release me, but don't let some dumbass scout like my dad say, oh, he doesn't throw hard enough, he's not any good. You know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
give the guy a shot. So, I mean, that's got to be frustrating for you, right?
Yeah, it was hard because I like I said I was a lower interest guy, but I realized where I could have success, and that would be I already realized that I would be like a low signee or whatever, but that was fine. I just wanted my opportunity.
Right.
And that's what I was working towards and stuff. And so it was frustrating because I felt that I gave a pretty promising final 2 years in my collegiate career. And towards I have this thing I kind of look at it as it's kind of like supply and demand. You have the MLB teams where you know
Everybody wants lefties.
yeah, they,
Right.
they have their demands, velo, strikes, off-speed pitches, whatever have you. So you got those, essentially three tools to pitching that they're kind of demanding. So it's like, on the other side, from the player side, can they supply it? And so for me, I was like, all right, like I supply two of the tools that they're looking for. I got very good control of where I'm putting it. I stay low in the zone, throw a lot of strikes. And I got two really good off-speed pitches, and I believe, I think my changeup was plus plus rated. So that felt kind of good and stuff. So I was
Right.
really confident with those two tools, and I was like, I really hope one of these teams can kind of see that and say, okay, this guy's got two tools that are pretty good, that are pretty set right now. Let's go ahead and give him that chance and see if he can develop that third tool,
Right.
velo.
So, and we're not talking. And that's what's crazy. It's like it ain't like you're throwing 78. I mean, you're still mid to upper 80s, which for a left-handed pitcher, like maybe in today's game, that's a tick below, average velo. Like I
Mhm.
said, it's not like you're throwing pus. I mean, you're still in there mid to upper 80s. So
Exactly. And you always, one big thing my pitching coach, Steve Les, talked about is where that fastball is going, higher up in the zone. If it's up and in, I mean, if it's 88, it's coming in. It looks like 92, 93, stuff like that. And,
right.
I was able to do that late in the count. People were expecting off-speed pitches, and I could go up and in with the fastball at,
Then the
let's say,
velo plays up.
86, 87, and they're late on it because one, they're expecting an off-speed, and two, it's up and in, so it's looking like it's coming a lot faster.
Right. So where does life take you after that? Kind of baseball career looks like it's over. We're kind of where do you go from there?
So yeah, everything kind of went downhill. I was going through some personal things in my life. At that time, I was kind of dealing with it. It began my senior season before the World Series, and I was kind of just going through some really rough times personally. Kind of like the World Series through, I want to say, maybe July, August.
Yeah.
And so yeah, the season ended, and I was in like kind of just like a dark spot. And I lost my like spark for the game, so I kind of just abruptly just walked away from the game. And I didn't really have a plan of anything really. I was just like, all right, like I'm just gonna find a job for now, save some money, and I guess I'll just go back to school the next year. So I ended up working out in Howell, Michigan, for like the entire summer. Didn't touch a ball. Um, and then I went down to visit some buddies in Georgia in September, and I had quit my job in Howell. Got back from Georgia after like a week or so, and I ended up being unemployed, I think, for like a month and a half, and I was just kind of in like a dark spot or whatever. And so I ended up, over that whole time, I've been thinking about this quite a bit, just like looking back on it. Um, I had developed, like, first and foremost, I missed the game a lot, whether I wanted to admit it at the time. And I think, like, through that, like, I developed like a really, really strong appreciation and like newfound passion for the game. So the summer goes by, early fall goes by, and I'm on, I think it's early December, and over the last, so I think it was early December, I think like December 5th or 6th. And, prior to that, the previous like 3 weeks, I caught myself watching a lot of baseball videos, and just like, I was literally having like dreams about playing baseball and stuff, and everything, like the whole, me missing the game and stuff, and all of that stuff was just like accumulating in my head. And so I'm on Twitter one night, December, and I scroll across this Live AB thing, a sign up document, and I'm sitting there. I scroll past it, don't even think twice, and then I stop and I scroll back up to it and I click on it, and I was like, all right, what the hell is this? And so I'm looking at it, and I know some of these players and stuff. Like I'm like, oh, dude, like I used to carve this guy up in high school.
Right. Yeah.
And so I'm sitting there and I'm like, I was like, fuck it, dude. I was like, I'm gonna sign up. I was like, I'm gonna go throw, like whatever. So I ended up literally showing up cold turkey. I hadn't thrown since college. Literally took like an hour and a half to warm up. I was pretty nervous because I was sitting there. I was like, all right, dude, like if you blow it out, like it is what it is. But if you don't, I guess you still got some juice.
Right.
And I, like making the decision, I was like, this might be my last chance to reignite my spark for the game. Like if I don't do this, maybe I won't ever touch a ball again. So ended up doing it. I remember I think I threw like 8 fastballs in a row that were balls. It was a little rusty, but then I ended up settling in. I think I struck out like 3 out of 5 guys. I think my velo was like up to 86. Curveball was good, changeup was working, and it was like kind of impressing people, and they were asking me and stuff. They were like, yeah, like where are you signed at, like what team you playing for? And I was like, dude, like that's the first time I touched a ball in 6 months.
Right.
And they were kind of blown away by it. And I had told one of the trainers, Dominic Downs over there, it was at College Connect. Dominic Downs is the head pitching coordinator there, or was. So I kind of told him my story and stuff, and he asked me if I needed somewhere to train. And I told them, I was like, yeah, I kind of need somewhere to throw bullpen and start throwing. And so he set me up with his program and stuff, and it's pretty much when everything started. And since then, I've just been training with him. So.
All right. So now you kind of recently, so you've been training. How long have you been like full on committed to the training? A couple months, you said?
January 1st.
Oh, you start January 1st? Okay.
Yes.
So, and just recently you started a new Instagram account, off your personal one, where you are documenting all of this going forward. What kind of went into now when you made that plan of what you're going to do? Is that stuff you learned, picked up through college? Is that stuff you picked up after? Like, kind of what all went into that plan of the workout plan and the throwing plan?
Yeah, no, like just like knowledge that I picked up through being at Gulf Coast, knowledge that I picked up while at Georgia Gwinnett, just like stuff like that, and then comparing that to what Dominic had to offer, to what his program had to offer, and what their goal was in training somebody like me. Everything kind of matched up, and I really agreed with like what they had to offer and
Right.
and like the schedule that they were going to give me and stuff. And so, I mean, yeah, like that's kind of how I branched it with that. And I remember too, because when they had offered me the program, I didn't say yes right away. I said, I said, hey, give me a couple days, and let me get back at you. Because I needed some time to think, and I was just sitting there, and I was like, all right, dude. I was like, this is a comeback right here. I was like, if you're gonna do this, like, this has got to be 110% of your effort. Like, this can't be half-assed. This can't be, I almost did it. This can't, like, it's got to be 110%, and your end goal has to be professional baseball. Like, you have to call the elephant out in the room. You have to manifest. Like, I wanted to manifest what I wanted to do, my end goal for this, and it was to sign a professional contract. So it was like a big decision almost. Like, it was almost kind of like a commitment. It was pretty much a commitment.
Because I remember, like, my draft year, I'm sitting there, and I actually started coaching. I finished my college career. Less than 3 weeks later, I started coaching summer collegiate league, in New York Collegiate League. And I'm working out, like I'm taking BP while I'm coaching, hoping to get drafted. I don't get drafted, so I'm already in it. Like I'm sitting, I'm in there, I'm in college. So that first year, I go 2 months. I don't do anything. I don't lift. I ain't running. I ain't taking ground balls. I'm just throwing BP every day, coaching the game, and I go, and at the end of the year, we made the playoffs. We had like an off day for the playoffs. So we're going to do like a simulated game where, uh, just to keep everybody fresh and kind of into it and stuff, getting some ABs. And I go over to play third. Somebody hits a ball. I fucking catch it. I'm like, oh, you're out. Like, boom. Right? It's like nothing. So I'm like, fuck, I'll get in that bat. So, like, first pitch, I smoke a ball in the right center gap for a triple. And obviously, I'm like dying getting the third. Cause I'm like out of shape and stuff. And I'm like, man, fuck, I'm good at this. Like, I can still do this. Like, do I want to try to, do this? Because originally I had said, I'm not playing independent ball. I don't want to be like the guy that, like, plays 2 years independent ball. So I'm a professional baseball. No, you're not. Everybody knows what pro baseball player means. You're independent player and stuff. So I'm like, man, and really what it came down to for me was it wasn't the work. The work never. I mean, shit, that never scared me. I was always the hardest worker any team I've ever been on. But it was like the I didn't know if I could handle again putting everything I had into it and then getting told no again. You know what I mean? Like, was there any part of that was kind of scary for you? Like, what if I do all of this and I get told no again?
Honestly, no. Obviously I'm realistic about everything.
Right. You understand it's a
I'm
loss.
not, yeah, I'm not predicating my whole life or however many years going forward in my life just on baseball, just on the hope that I sign a contract. But I just try to stay positive with it. I don't even view that as something in my mind really. I don't really let that enter my mind, but I
Right.
do still keep a realistic view. And the answer, I guess the more direct answer for that is like, you know, I may get told no again, but at least I know that at least I know like in my heart that I legitimately gave it everything I could and
Right.
it just wasn't for me. So
Right. Okay. So like this program you're on now, and I'm not saying like don't take this the wrong way. Like obviously I think as a college pitcher, you were more than good enough to deserve a shot in pro ball, but like something wasn't there for the scouts to see. So
mhm.
what of your training or like what are you trying to change? I guess I would say, even though Lefty Greg at 85 to 88 was getting everybody out, like what are you trying to change going forward to get that shot? Is it all based on velo
um
or most of it at least?
Yeah, I would say the majority of it, like 95%, is based on velo. I'm essentially, in my opinion, what I'm essentially trying to reinvent myself as a pitcher. I don't want to be known as the soft lefty anymore.
Right.
I want to turn some heads.
Yeah.
My specific goal,
Yeah.
um, yeah, my specific goal by the end of this is to be a comfortable 90, 93, maybe touching 94. And the biggest thing for me, I recently made a post on Instagram about this. Was my lower half. So to branch off from velo being the biggest factor in changing in what's changing for me, the biggest kind of focus in order to do that is really my lower half and my mobility. Um,
Now
you
are you
know,
talking lower half strength, lower half mechanics? Like what do you
strength and delivery.
okay.
Yeah, I think it's the biggest part was just like I was pretty observant of it and I kind of realized it. Unfortunately, I really just never um
It's hard to change when you're having success. Like if you're
that was
sitting
the biggest thing.
right.
It was like I would try to, you and Candler would always see me, at Gulf Coast, like after practice, like just throwing a bunch of balls into the
Yeah.
net, just trying to change stuff up. But it was hard because you get in the game and you're like, you try changing one thing up and it's like, oh shit, like I just threw a ball. I remember the last game I pitched in when I wasn't trying to do this, I was getting everybody out. So it's like you just go back to it.
That return to just being competitive and getting the guy out happens real fast.
Yeah, I mean,
uh,
right back into muscle memory.
right. Yeah.
So and that's one thing that I found really cool about of pretty much just independently training on my own, just kind of remote training is I don't really have any high intensity situations right now, so I'm able to like just repeatedly work on these new mechanics and stuff, just
Right.
emphasizing using my back leg, emphasizing getting into my glutes and properly incorporating my lower half into like the sequencing of my pitching and stuff.
Right.
So
All right, so you're obviously, we talked about this, but you're documenting this. Like I said, you got your a new Instagram for it, and we talked about it a little bit, but I'll let you touch on it. Like, what's the purpose of? What are you trying to accomplish by documenting? You're documenting like almost everything. It's really cool to watch. But you go ahead and talk about like what you're hoping to accomplish with that.
Yeah. So like I said, my story. This is the first time I've ever went public with my story. Before this, I was just kind of like the quiet guy or whatever. I kept to myself with all that kind of stuff. Um, so nobody really knew except for maybe a few close people that I had with me
Right.
or around me. Sorry. So I was doing this stuff, and I've been training and whatnot, throwing stuff like that, and I got just like out of the blue one day, I was like, let's change something up. I was like, maybe like let's share my story. Like what could it hurt? Um, so I was just kind of like thinking, and down the road and stuff. I guess sort of like kind of building my brand. I was like, I think maybe it'd be cool if I kind of built a brand around myself and
Right.
kind of made this story kind of public. And my goal with it was to, if I was able to successfully kind of have this page blow up a little bit and kind of build a brand around my name. Um, um, I felt that maybe it would reach out to other players like me that have been underdogs, playing with a chip on their shoulder, stuff like that. Maybe it would reach out to players like that around the country and stuff. And maybe if they're going through maybe what I went through of quitting when maybe they shouldn't have, or maybe they're losing their spark for the game. Maybe seeing something like this,
Right.
some 22-year-old lefty trying to get back into the game, working hard. Like maybe that'll motivate them. Maybe it'll inspire them to try to get back into the game or reignite that spark for them.
Right. And I always thought like, cause like social media wasn't like, there was social media like when I was in college and stuff, but it was not like it is now. And I
Yeah.
always thought like if someone like documented it like you do, like it almost holds you accountable too. Like, hey, I have to keep a post up. Like I need to get my shit in, go work out, like, and
Yeah.
it's almost like it's kind of a checks and balances thing where you're trying to inspire and help other people.
It's
But
a mutual benefit. It
right. Yeah.
benefits both sides, because that's another thing is like I was like, all right, like this is gonna be cool because now that I've kind of barged into the Instagram world guns hot saying I'm pitcher than you, like this is my story, like follow me and stuff. I was kind of like, all right, like I got to keep up with the post. I got to make sure like my form's good in the post. I got to make sure this looks right, that looks right. So it motivates you to really be at like the top of the line when doing all this stuff.
Right. And then like in your obviously and then in your like your captions, you're explaining it. And I feel like the more you have to explain it, like the better you understand it also. Like you might even pick something up when you're trying to describe what you're doing. Like
That's the thing too, is like it's just like is the wealth of knowledge, like just sharing knowledge and stuff. Like, I'm
right,
not doing this. I'm not coming from a coaching standpoint when I make these posts or anything. I'm not saying you should or shouldn't do what I'm doing.
yeah.
I'm just simply stating what I'm doing. And if you have something you want to say to me, feel free. We can discuss that. If I have something that maybe I want to add in there or something like that, like, if somebody has a tip for me, like share it. I had a softball player the other night. I played with her, or she played softball at Georgia Gwinnett,
Yeah.
and she was a pitcher too. And so she DM'd me after I made my post about me in college versus me now. She DM'd me and said, "Hey, one thing that really helped me with feeling the weight in my back leg was putting an ankle weight on my back ankle and pitching like that for a little bit."
Yeah.
And I told her, I was like, well, thank you. I was like, I'm gonna try this. I was like, do you mind if I take a video of this, like shout you out, kind of stuff like that. And I think like that's the stuff that's like really fun, is because like I'm a sponge, I'm an open book.
Right.
I'm starting from ground zero again. I have no ego, and I'm willing to try anything and stuff. I think everything is beneficial in some way or another.
Right. Now this is kind of like jumping like way back like, into your pitching more than anything, more than like your how you document it. But you always like you threw a lot when you were at Gulf Coast. You were always like you said throwing after practice. Like you kind of stretched out almost every day and stuff. How important is feeling stuff for you? Like some people like you can tell them something like, okay, I understand what you're saying, but like other people, I feel like they have to feel it, especially a lot of pitchers, like and like over and over, like the feel the difference of, all right, now I'm not staying over, like staying on my back leg or whatever it is. How important is that for you?
It's super honestly, that's probably one of the biggest things that that's really changed me is the focus on feeling, because there really is, everybody's body is different,
Right.
but in a general concept as a whole, the incorporation of how you use, like, let's say your glutes and stuff, universally it's essentially the same feeling, you know what I mean?
Right.
um and so, that's where I watch countless pitching videos and stuff like that, and just try to, break everything down, look at separate pieces, and kind of put that together and see what their delivery sequences are like and stuff
Right.
like that, where to get, um how do I put it, where I feel power, because that's the main thing that I've been really, kind of doing with the whole feel aspect of this, is where in my back leg, where in my delivery do I feel the most power. And that's the problem, is a lot of times, pretty much every time when I was pitching in college and stuff, is I really never felt like I had a position of power where I was behind the ball.
And like exploding
um
through it and stuff.
yes,
Right.
yes. And obviously, I never felt in my leg. And I could tell, because when I would watch video, my back foot would already be off the rubber, before I released the ball, saying pretty much I had already lost all my weight and all the torque and, whatever have you.
Right.
Um, so being able to pretty much come down to it, being able to pretty much feel, um, the weight of my back leg behind the ball,
Yeah.
and being able to feel like I still have, when I'm like right here, when I'm ready to explode open with my hips, being able to feel that, like, that's what really changed me and stuff. And that's why I think the whole feel aspect of pitching is pretty important.
Right. Because I always laugh at like people like the coach pitching coaches say he's not using his back legs at all, I'm like, well, or his legs at all. I'm like, well, yeah, he fucking is. He's using his legs. He's not maximizing his leg. You know what I mean? Like, and he doesn't
Yeah,
understand, like, because you can tell a kid like, hey, he's driving to the plate. He doesn't understand like it could be better. You know what I mean? It's that's the difference. Like, okay, like, yeah, you're throwing pretty good right now, but what can we do to make that just a little tiny bit better and a little tiny bit better? You know what I mean?
exactly. And it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to completely change how you look as a
It
pitcher.
might be like the angle of your hips going forward, going from like this to like this. You know what I mean? It's
Just, a bit more explosiveness,
yeah,
stuff like that. So, and then, like, that's the thing, is like it's so individualized, but the feeling is so universal, and it's kind of important to find a balance of that, of not going too far with a kid, but also not going far enough. You know what I mean?
right. Now kind of what's your timetable for this? Like how long do you plan on pursuing? Obviously you're not going to do this till you're 40, I would think, if if you haven't signed, so like kind of have you set that, or are you just kind of saying, hey, let me just keep going, if I'm keep showing improvement, I'll keep going, or if I plateau off, like kind of how long are you going to give yourself?
I'm kind of in a good situation right now.
Right.
My schedule has been pretty good, before the whole quarantine thing came about, or the whole coronavirus COVID-19 came about,
Right.
and we had a quarantine. So like I said, I was working at Bill's, I was cooking over there, and then I was doing a couple different things here, including coaching. And it really worked out with my schedule, because there was, each day I did have a big block of time, which I was able to, get my throwing in, stretching, my mobility work, my whole everything included in my program. I was able to get that in and go to the gym, get my own workout in, stuff like that. So it wasn't really so originally, with the actual timetable, with what Dominic gave me was a 12-week on-ramp schedule, so it was just gradually increasing, intensity and stuff.
Now,
Uh,
so your 12 weeks, it's 3 months. Was that planned on starting January 1st? I'm there when like pro ball starts, spring training, injuries. Was that kind of the thought before this whole pandemic? Like, hey, I can kind of peak around the time when somebody might need to sign a pro pitcher?
Yeah, that was originally the plan. originally I was kind of aiming to sign towards, kind of now like late spring, early summer, something like that. Because I'm pretty much at like 85% intensity right now, 85-90% intensity. And I'm pretty much like right on schedule where I need to be.
Right.
The only thing that I'm kind of, I guess you could say, behind schedule with, is I'm doing the plyo ball series and stuff. And you remember me doing that in Gulf Coast and
Yeah.
stuff. My junior year, I had an elbow injury though. I had epicondylitis on the outside of my elbow, which is just inflammation of a tendon. So I had stopped doing the plyo balls for a while, and then when I had walked away from the game, I didn't even touch a ball for
Right.
6 months. Um, so yeah, I've been doing those, but I keep those with low reps. Those are kind of just like a little like blood flow type thing, get everything going, feel my form, and just like helps me loosen up and stuff. And that's another thing that's really helped me keep that's evolved my arm path, because I used to be a real long arm pitcher and I would
Yeah.
drag a lot. If you notice in my videos now, I'm kind of like right behind the ear. I'm
Yeah, I
real
saw the one where you were talking about like throwing like infielder, kind of just bringing it out.
Yes,
Throw it.
yes, and that's another big thing, of my training is just genuinely, and this kind of relates to the feel aspect, is just in general just feeling and being athletic,
Right. Because like
and
if
that's
you
something
get
that's
like
really helped.
real long and elongated, like you're not as strong as you are with some flex. Is that kind of what you're trying to feel your way through?
Yeah, and if you look at one thing you see on Twitter a lot is the comparison um, of javelin throwers and people back in the day throwing rocks and stuff. If you notice all these pictures and stuff, it's all short. It's bang. It's right here. It's
Yeah.
athletic looking. They look athletic.
I
Um,
think a lot of times people like believe that pitchers and like it's like a big long arm stroke. It's not. It's kind of like here and like let's go. Like Bumgarner kind of has like that long slingshot arm, but that dude's like 6'4", 225. Like he's a giant human. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like a lot of those guys, it's kind of short and like boom, let's go.
it's basically where can I get to a point where I feel that stretch and pretty much like bang, I'm gonna catapult like a rubber band forward.
Right.
And like that's what's crazy about it is like the feel of that with my upper body. Is my upper body's is developed so much. And I've gotten to a point where when I'm in my load and I'm driving down towards the plate and I'm ready and my arm is cocked, I've gotten to a point where it's like, okay, how hard do I really want to throw this ball right now? Because I can feel my weight behind the ball.
Right.
And I had mentioned something on my post is the craziest part to me is my 60-70% intensity throwing days have felt harder than many a times that I was throwing my hardest in college.
Right. Yeah. Well, I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I mean, I kind of cut you off there on your timeline. Like, what are you looking at here then? Or another thing I want to talk about too is like, I think it's hard right now for anybody that's like a thrower, like a pitcher, or if like to just say playing. Like, when do I get my arm in shape?
Mm.
Because like this whole, the quarantine. Like, if you don't know when you're gonna play, like you don't have a set date, it's hard because you don't want to ramp up and then waste bullets for no reason and take injury risk and stuff like that. So like, especially someone that's unsigned and doesn't know what's going on, is that really hard to like know when to? Is that why you think you're kind of hovering around 85%, and then if you hear like, oh, there's a tryout or something like that, boom, we ramp it up?
Yeah, exactly. I'm kind of trying to keep some reserve in the tank, I guess, if you want
Right.
to call it that. Because it's just hard. Because I'm sure a lot of these pro players and stuff. It's like, okay, do I take this time to train like it's an off season? Do I simulate it like it's a full season
Right.
and try to get live ABs? Stuff like that. And it's just trying to, I feel like for myself and a lot of our players that are either unsigned or just off from pro ball, it's finding the balance between, I guess, kind of training like it's an off season, but also still maintaining like a game ready type status, like physically and mentally.
Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, it's like you're like you said, if you're treating like an off season and they're like, okay, we're back, we're playing in 2 weeks. Like, damn, you're ramping up quick and you're risking
Yeah.
injury. But also if you're say you're like, all right, I'm getting my live ABs and treating like regular season, and then they say, okay, we're starting in July and we're pushing regular season through November, so you're throwing even longer than you normally would, and then you got a shorter turnaround the next off season. Like, it's just is a tough situation to be in, I think, especially for pitchers. Like that's shitty. So
100%, because I mean, and it's just like the scariest part, is we really don't know what's going to happen with this. We don't know where we're going down the road with it, and everything is so up in the air. So it's like everybody's kind of just by the edge of their seat and stuff.
all right, man. Well, I think we kind of hit everything we could. So we'll have to have you back on if you want some time and do like
Oh, absolutely. This is fun. This is great.
maybe go through like your routine as a pitcher. So some of our
Sure,
guys
sure.
can see like what a guy does as far as throwing days, non-throwing day, recovery days, all that kind of stuff. I think that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, no, we could definitely go into that. I'd love to like kind of break down my daily routine and schedule and all that stuff.
Yeah, for sure. So I appreciate it. Keep working hard, man. Shoot, no one deserves it more, and I really hope you get a shot. That'd be awesome if just keep working hard. It'd be a great story. But I made it known. I think you should have got a shot already, but just keep
Hey,
working.
man, this is what it is.
Remember, you didn't had nowhere to go to college until after your senior year, so maybe it's the same thing.
Yeah, let's hope so, man.
All right, man. I really appreciate you coming on, taking the time, and like I said, we'll have to do it again sometime soon.
All right, coach. We'll stay in touch. Stay safe.
Your Instagram that you're documenting your stuff on. What is it?
Instagram, it's at pitcher than you, all lowercase.
Copying off of the Gregor than you, your old Twitter handle.
Yes, sir.
All right, I'll link your IG handle in the description too, so they can come follow your journey.
Big time. I appreciate it, man.
All right, man. I appreciate it.
All right, see you, coach. Stay safe.